appreciate you coming to explain the nuances. It makes me sad that there are almost always nuances and that we almost always need to address and engage them because a lot of these matters are complicated. You spoke about having a soul, and I just wanted to make a note.
Let's explore that. Let's see if you do.
There are people that don't have souls or have souls that are, what's the right way to put it? That are conflicted, that are maybe not as pure. And they thrive off the idea of, I can make money from these things. We see it with energy now. There are people licking their lips. Every time we hear there's load shedding, stage 6, there are people that are like, yep, I need this for my solar company. We've gotten the IPP license. I mean, if the South African government fixes Eskom and load shedding, I'm not going to make money. I'm about to make a lot of money. Similar people have the same ideology with private security. If crime were to go down, I can't make money from my private security company. I sponsor the local school. People know me. I'm rich. I drive a Ferrari in the neighborhood because my private security guys work here. To a point where you start wondering if some of them don't send people to commit crimes to make sure that business is still going.
Construction mafia in South Africa.
Construction mafia is a big one. Now I'm thinking even with the farm murders, someone was saying this to me recently. I'm not sure who it was. If it was Waras or someone else. They were saying the amount of money that's potentially being made in farming security. You know,
that was Dan in your conversation.
It was Dan Quarter. Our boy Dan. That there may be some people who are like, this is a great opportunity. And I really hope if there are people out there making money, selling guns, drone surveillance, you know, etc. I hope they don't go to the extent of sending people to cause harm to promote their business. Hey, do you have security? You know, I had a fish and chip shop back in 2012. It was called Penuel's Fish and Chips.
You mentioned it last time as well.
Back in 2012, and the night before I opened officially, these guys, I'm not going to mention the security company because maybe it wasn't them. They come and they pitch security. They're like, look, we have an alarm system, what. I'm like, oh, no, I don't need it. I'm good. I'd been setting up that shop for a couple of weeks, shop fitting, etc. The night before I opened, these guys come here. We do alarm systems, what. I'm like, I don't need it. The following morning, I get to my shop and it had been broken into and my things had been stolen. Not a lot. Enough, my cash register and a few things, enough things had been stolen for me to be like, hey, maybe, and I literally called the guys. Because in my head, I'm like, it could be them. And I'm like, this is like extortion. This is like the mafia. It's like, well, if you're not going to pay us to protect you, you're going to see yourself being a victim of crime. All the shops next to me are not broken into. Well, look, it's probably because they have our alarm systems. And you're like, okay, it's fine. I'll sign up. Guess this is the cost of business. So I hope there are people out there, because I know some capitalists are really dark human beings. You know, it's money over everything.
They're human, whether they're Marxist or capitalist or whatever.
I don't know if they're human. I don't know if they're human. It's money beyond humanity by any means. And I hope even if they exist, they are not sending people to commit heinous crimes in the pursuance. We see it with pharmaceutical companies. Some of these people don't see human beings. They don't mind the side effects. They don't mind. They'll tell you, oh, the rate of deaths from this thing has gone down, so we're doing well. You're like, you can't speak like that. People took your drug and some people died and you're like, oh, we're doing better. You're like, that's crazy. So I hope some of these people are not out there. I just wanted to make that.
I wanted to agree that with any ideology, you're going to get dark people that have dark hearts, that have ill intent and are malicious and don't have empathy or feeling for other people. But what I meant by they're human is that, as Alexander Solzhenitsyn said, the line between good and evil runs through every man's heart, and no man is willing to cut out a piece of his own heart. So,
jeez, who said that?
Alexander Solzhenitsyn. He's a Soviet dissident writer.
Of course he is. Solzhenitsyn.
Yeah.
There's a line that runs between
the line between good and evil runs through the hearts of every man, and no man is willing to cut out a piece of his own heart.
Jeez.
So any ideology will find people with dark intentions, people that have bad intentions with bad hearts, whether they be capitalist, Marxist, socialist, whatever.
Sure.
So that might come when you say like even some of X ideology has bad people. I'm like, yeah, of course it does. They're people.
Yeah,
Humanity has the line between good and evil, not just in their own hearts, but through humanity itself. There's this line, and we choose between it every day. You and me, everyone here, everyone chooses between good and evil every day, and we can only strive towards choosing good every time. I don't believe, except for Jesus Christ, there's no man out there that's always good all the time and always makes the right decision.
Do you think we have to choose good and evil is the default?
I think sin is the default. I think we talked about the last time, the intro to our conversation was human nature. Yeah. I said human nature is sinful because we're fallen beings. We will always be tempted towards sin. We have our responsibility to firstly be aware of that fact, and secondly, to fight that temptation, but not to beat yourself up if you fall to that temptation. Yeah. You just have to be better. You have to continue to be better and improve, but be aware of your fallen nature and your failure sometimes to stick to an ideal, but strive towards that ideal.
Let's close this thing. Let me defend my boy, Julius Malema. Jeez, why
hopefully you get a good word in the next press conference.
Maybe
he apologizes and says, I just want to give an apology.
Let's not put any money on that. You may lose everything. So on the topic of nuances, I'm going to try and defend Julius a little bit. And then I've got a small question for you. I think it's short, and then we can close it off.
Sure.
The nuance is, as you're speaking about human nature and those things, it's a question I asked you straight on. I also asked Meneer Karel Boshoff. Are there racists in Oranje? Without a doubt, there are racists here, but Oranje is not a racist town and the ideology is not based on racism. Does the EFF potentially have radical people, racist black people, which many black people are like, black people cannot be racist. I believe black people can be racist. I believe the EFF has a lot of racist black people who probably hate white people. I remember under Donald Trump's era, there was something along the lines of, not all Trump supporters are racist, but it just so happens that all the racists support Trump. I don't know how true that is because I liked Donald Trump, by the way. But you can believe that black people that hate white people would probably lean towards Julius Malema and the EFF. But that's not to say all EFF members hate white people. And so if it's going to happen that there are EFF members, whether they were real EFF members or people wearing EFF t-shirts, singing Dubuli Bonu outside Senegal, that's not nice. But I have to say that it doesn't represent all EFF people, I'd like to think. And I don't know if he ever responded to that, whether it was Ndlozi or Malema, on condemning that type of behavior, because it's inappropriate. No. If they didn't, that's sad. But on behalf of good EFF members that I know it doesn't represent all of them, and it represents those people.
Yeah, it wasn't, but this is a very technicality. It wasn't the Dubla Ibunu, it was the chant, kill the Boer, kill the farmer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That is very unfortunate, but I don't want it to be an EFF thing because of a rot in a certain. It's like there are racist white people that are members of AfriForum, but AfriForum is not a racist organization, and I think that's important. The second one was Julius Malema and the call and being asked to pledge to never call for the mass killing of white people. This one is very difficult. This one's very difficult, and it's not for me to defend him. It's for me to explain the complexity of human history and the platform and the legacy that Julius Malema comes from. The ANC Youth League, the ANC, the people that had groomed him, people like Jacob Zuma, etc., that come from apartheid, the struggle, being imprisoned, the history of black oppression, where you're asking someone who's meant to be a voice of black people and oppressed black people and black people that are trying to find their place in the world and liberation, to be like, you will never call for the... And his argument is, I'm not calling for it today. But if ever in my representation of black people, as with the ANC and Umkhonto weSizwe at some point, where they felt compelled to pick up arms, I think he was trying to say, if ever we feel threatened to that point and we have to defend ourselves, I may call for the mass killing.